Yeah.
Like, people lie for them all the time, but usually, like, people aren't compelled to believe it.
It's like the whole, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. It's definitely a different thing, like, lying to the cops or breaking into confidential records than, like, not having to pay, like, a debt collector or, like, getting a free coffee from a stranger on the street.
Yeah, and, like, I feel like when you mess with someone's mind, and they did it, like, I'm thinking season 14, I don't want to spoil anything, but they do a different version of mind control that's more like a process. It's like you completely rewrite, like, a person's personality if you do it enough.
Yeah.
So, like, even just touching that stuff, like, you know, asking a guy for the coffee that he was drinking, which is not a big deal because it doesn't really affect that guy, but telling the cops that they have to transform the investigation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that extends beyond a single moment.
Meredith.
Low light is everything Tracy had to go through at the climax. Like, even the stuff that Sam saw in his vision. Like, it didn't happen, but we still saw it, and it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah.
Highlight is Chiara Zani, because I love her, and she was my childhood. And her voice is just so nice to listen to. I could listen to it all day.
I love how excited you are about Chiara Zani.
If you think this is excited, you should have seen me when I first made the realization. I had to pause so I could freak out.
I'm actually disappointed that you didn't text me.
Well.
Next time, text me.
Yes, next time I recognize an actor.
My low light is also the, like, Tracy Weber interactions, particularly the sexual assault implications there. Kill her if that's your thing. Like, Weber's a villain. Villains on the show kill people. But the sexual assault was just so beyond what was necessary. Like, what a monstrous thing to do, and what an insensitive thing for all of the people involved in creating this episode to include. My highlight is, at first I said Dean and Andy appreciating each other's rides, but then I changed my mind and I said the family meeting with Ellen. Dean being like, this is a family problem, and then Ellen making them talk felt like Ellen was adopting them into her family. It felt like a very, like, this is a family thing, we don't want you involved, this is a family thing, we don't want, no, you're just gonna tell me what's going on so I can help you. Felt very much like a, I am a mom and now I'm your mom kind of moment.
Just smacks the adoption papers down on the table. Bobby has custody.
Bobby already signed. He said it was okay.
I asked your dad, your real one.
Speaking of dads, our next segment is Call CPS. We don't know anything about Weber's childhood. However, this guy is messed up. And I don't want to say, like, parents are fully responsible for, like, their children becoming serial killers. Because obviously, like, some people, you know, become serial killers and that's not anything to do with the parents. But more often than not, some traumatic shit happened to a child. And, like, I get adoption is traumatic sometimes for kids. We don't know if Weber's, like, family was good to him or not. We don't know anything. But I'm just gonna say, chances are some messed up stuff happened to Weber when he was a kid for him to turn out like this. And,
I don't know. I'm not saying, like, this definitely means he had a terrible childhood, but he was, like, so angry when he found out he had been separated from his brother.
Yeah, something happened to this kid.
Yeah, just the way he said, like, we could have been together this entire time made me feel like he really was, like, a lonely child or something like that.
Something. And, so I'm just gonna preemptively, to cover my bases, say that, probably somebody should have called CPS on something in Weber's childhood. Some event or some parents or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, like, you have to be abused to be angry that you got separated from your sibling.
No, definitely
like,
not.
That's a natural reaction, but Weber
to be this angry that you're
yeah.
killing people and you're assaulting women, something went wrong.
Yeah.
With that in mind, on to the mental health check. I'm not a psychologist, and this segment is based purely on my own opinions, and a weekly reminder that if you're struggling with anything at all, please reach out for help. But yeah, some mental health stuff was happening in this episode. Like I said, I think that Weber was definitely projecting some self-harm and suicidal ideation onto his victims. Just, you know, it was a lot. He definitely wasn't okay. I don't think Andy was okay at the end, but I think Andy and Dean were somewhat okay at the start. I don't think Sam and Dean were okay at the end of this episode either.
Are they ever?
Sam is obviously concerned that he's gonna be bad, but I think it's getting to the point where it's not just, like, concern that I might be bad or I might be, like, a freak. I think Sam is, like, losing his sense of what is right and what is wrong, and I think that's really scary for them.
I think he's getting a sense that he has some sort of dark destiny, and he's kind of tempted to just let it control him, because he's thinking, like, what's the point?
Well, yeah, and I think, like, Sam's always had a pretty, like, intense sense of right and wrong since he was a child, like, more than even, like, Dean or John. Sam's like, well, like, is this monster a monster? You know, asking the harder questions. But I think the more Sam thinks maybe my destiny is to be something bad, the more he's like, is my really strong sense of right and wrong accurate to the rest of the world?
Yeah, I just had a thought. We haven't really learned very much about the boys' religious views, but we do learn that, like, Sam is more religious than Dean.
Yeah, the few times it has come up, it has been that way for sure.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, what if Sam has, like, learned so much about, like, foreordination and, you know, being predestined to do something, and he's just thinking, like, I can't control this if it's supposed to happen to me.
Yeah.
So why would I fight it?
Sam talking about how in, like, the right circumstances, anyone can be pushed to be a killer, including himself, and he specifically mentions, like, Jessica pushed him to kill, and then when we're down the line, we're gonna find out that was very orchestrated.
Yeah, and he's convinced that the whole time he's been hunting with Dean now is to propel him into where Yellow Eyes wants him going.
Which is true.
Yeah, this is, like, the difference between, like, foreordination and predestiny.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, by the way. And actually, foreordination is off topic, but
we can take a tangent.
It's when God, like, gives you a calling or, like, a job, responsibilities, and it's your choice whether or not you want to accept it. So that
like
is...
Neo.
Yeah, exactly. My mom actually used Star Wars to explain this to me. So it's totally fine to use pop culture to explain religion. But yeah, that's kind of what is missing here from how Sam is perceiving this. He thinks that he has no choice in the matter.
Yeah. And then with Dean, the John's secret thing is obviously weighing heavily on Dean. Keeping Sam safe and alive and good is weighing heavily on Dean. He was pretty casual when he told Andy to stay good, or else they would come back, and the implication was very strongly they would come back and kill him. He was very, very much like, we will be back to kill you if you do something wrong.
Yay.
Which, you know, I think is Dean's way of holding on to the fact that Sam isn't like Andy, isn't like the other special children. And then, like, he was just so afraid to tell Ellen about any of the special children demon-y stuff. I don't think he's doing great.
He's probably a little stressed.
We haven't even gotten to Croatoa yet.
No. We've still got a few episodes for that until that.
Yeah, but Sam's power is comparatively very passive compared to Max and Andy's powers, which are very direct and
right. Like, he just sees things. He can't control what happens to other people.
Andy's is one of the few powers that Sam doesn't use from the special children that they meet early on. I have some theories about Sam's powers being less, like, death omen-y and more, like, as we learn as the special children use their powers more, they grow. Right. And they kind of learn to use other powers, like the powers of the other special children. Like, they all kind of start in a different spot, but they all kind of, like, gain each other's powers as they go.
Like Super Skrull.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't understand that reference, but I'm glad that you do.
Because Sam used Max's power one time.
That's right.
When they met Max, he used Max's telekinesis power. He wasn't able to do it again that we saw, but he did do it one time, even though that wasn't his power. Sam and Ava have almost the same powers. We'll meet Ava later this season.
My best friend looks exactly like that girl.
Oh my
God. I was like, oh my God, Alex, it's your doppelganger.
Isn't that so freaky?
I am so happy for your friend, Jordan. This is a great person to resemble.
Yeah, Ava is really cute.
She's really pretty, yeah.
She is.
I feel like that would be really creepy to see someone that looks like me. I'm sure it will happen eventually, statistically, but I just think it's creepy. Soul transactions. There wasn't any. Sam's traumatic brain injury.
Oh.
Tracy took our boy the fuck out. He was down. That tree to the head just, like, knocked him out. That's down and out.
I know she was under mind control, but I hope she can use this skill for other things.
Yeah, I hope that, you know, Tracy's gonna need some therapy, but, you know, if she ever gets, like, attacked on the street, I feel like she could fight them off. No problem. I'm not worried about her.
She just needs to carry around a log.
Yeah, as long as she has a big stick, she's good.
She's fine. She'll be fine.
So we have our recommended rating. So what the guests would like to encourage me to rate this episode. Jordan, I don't think you've done one of these.
I have not.
So you can rate out of 10, out of stars, out of whatever made-up rating system you would like. High, medium, low, out of 5, whatever strikes your fancy.
I'll give you like 3.5 stars. I like Andy, but I don't like other things, which we talked about already.
Yeah,
Is that like 3 out of 5?
3 out of 5.
Okay, cool.
Cool. Meredith, what would you like to rate this episode?
I always rate out of 10. I'm gonna give it like an 8. I really loved Andy and like Tracy, obviously.
Okay, cool. And Vail, what would you like to rate this episode?
Yeah, I was gonna go for like an 8.5. Would have been much closer to a 9.5 had
you really
the
like
one
this
scene not occurred.
Yeah.
I just found it really interesting. That's the thing for me.
I love that. Okay, I'll note it and take into account in my my personal rating.
For all its faults, I just really love the mind control trope.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
And the aesthetic is so beautiful right now.
Yeah. Andy's van on its own.
Yes.
Actually, yes. The van is everything. Would not mind living in that van down by the river.
I feel like I've seen more like good to live in vans since then. Like van life has really become a thing in the 2020s.
Andy was ahead of his time in so many ways.
Yeah, they have vans with like kitchens and like dining rooms and everything.
That's impressive.
Whoa.
Yeah, but anyway, to finish off this episode, we have line of the week. Vail, do you have a line of the week this week?
I did. It's Joe asking, "You're afraid of my mother?" And Dean absolutely saying yes. That was beautiful for me.
Yes, that was good. Jordan, did you have a line of the week? Do you want us to come back to?
Yeah, come back to me. I'm thinking.
Okay, Meredith, did you have a line of the week?
It was Andy saying, "I have an evil twin." It was just like this realization, like, oh my gosh, my life is a comic book.
I like that he immediately was like, I have a twin, I have an evil twin.
Oh no! The tropes, they're everywhere. They're coming for me.
I do like how offended Andy was that they thought that he would kill anybody, especially Dr. Jennings, who he seemed to have, like, enjoyed. Like, they said hi to each other on the street when they passed each other.
I'd be pretty offended if someone accused me of murder.
Yeah. Jordan, did you have one, or did you want me to go first?
I think I'm gonna go with, I don't know, man. I think I'm starting to like this guy. That band is sweet.
I really enjoyed the way that he says sweet.
Sweet.
My line of the week is, he's a psychic, kind of like you. Well, not really like you, but see, he thinks you're a murderer, and he's afraid he's going to become one himself because you're all part of something that's terrible, and I hope the hell he's wrong, but I'm starting to get a little bit scared that he might be right.
The delivery was really funny.
Well done.
Like Sam telling him to, like, shut up, and he's like, I can't.
I'm trying.
I'm doing my best here, bro.
But that's it for this week, so I'm going to let my guests all give their social media if they want to. Let's start with Meredith.
All right, I am at Shades of Deyanira on Tumblr, Instagram, and TikTok, but mostly Instagram. And if you go there, you'll see lots of really cool drawings for the fantasy novel I'm writing.
Yay! And Vail, how about you?
I am Misha McCarthy on Tumblr and AO3, completely unrelated to the actor.
And Jordan.
I am at PsychicChick21 on the TikTok.
Excellent. Is there anything else you want to plug, or is that it?
Oh, I haven't done a new episode of my podcast in a long time, but if you're interested in random and fandom things, my podcast is Fandemonia.
Excellent. Next week we're covering Season 2, Episode 6, No Exit. We're super excited about that. So that's what's happening next week. Come back for that, and good night.
I've been KJ. You can find me on all social media platforms at Life Messes of KJ.
Except for TikTok, where you can now find me at SPN Opinions KJ.
If you want to be on the podcast, you can either reach out to me there, or you can reach out through the podcast social media. You can email the podcast. Our email address is supernaturalopinionspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at SPN Opinions Pod. We are Supernatural Opinions Podcast on Facebook and at Supernatural Opinions Pod on Instagram. And if you could subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to this podcast, that really helps people to find us. And if you want to hear more of me and my thoughts, you can check out my other podcast, Series of Opinions, available on all the same places as this one. This podcast was written, recorded, produced, and edited by me. Thank you to Faith Ebert for our logo. Our theme song is by Joe Veretta. Thank you once again to all of our amazing guests.
Don't think in this world I'm supernatural. What we need is a savior. Supernatural.